Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm, of course, your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good evening. I am back with Mr. Bill Schuster. How are you doing, Bill?
Good, Armando. Still good, good. How are you doing?
That's good. That's good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the third installment of our top five albums of the 70s. We are going to be tackling the year 1976. The 70s were pretty much considered a fertile year in terms of album releases and in terms of different musical genres and styles. So we've each picked our top five albums, um, and two honorable mentions. So again, we are tackling the year 1976, and I will again hand the virtual mic over to my good friend, Mr. Bill Schuster.
All right.
Take it away, Bill.
Thank you, Armando. I'm going to start out with no prop. I had props for every other album and honorable mention, but my first one here. And I'm starting to think I'm going to lose my hard rock metal cred altogether because these seem to be the ones that I do not have physical copies of for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my first pick is Judas Priest's Sad Wings of Destiny.
Ooh. Okay, I get what you're saying.
Actually, the only reason I don't have a vinyl copy is because I wanted to get the new version that had been come out within the last few years on vinyl, but it they screwed with the running order.
Hmm.
And no, sorry, I used to have a cassette copy. It's long gone, sadly, so I just settle for a digital copy in the meantime until I can find a good vinyl copy. Never have replaced on CD for whatever, but this is my single favorite Priest studio album. Uh,
Okay.
Dreamer Deceiver, that wow, that should be, well, Dreamer Deceiver and Deceiver should be considered one song. It drives me nuts that they separated those into two different titles. It's one song, okay? It should be a single track, and that should be yet another one of those classic staple songs. And didn't even make the live album. But if you've ever seen Rob's amazing vocal performance on, I think it was the Old Gray Whistle Test, you can check it out on YouTube. They
Yeah.
do this live, and it's awesome. It's amazing. You see Rob, the young, very young Rob, with his long, stringy hair and his frilly pirate looking outfit. They all looked like pirates, more of the metal gods back in that video. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, this whole album's great. It has Victim of Changes, The Ripper, Genocide. I mean, come on. And The Island of Domination. Yeah. And then there is, of course, See the Old Man Sitting. Yeah, Rob's his vocal range on this is great. He does these different voices that he wouldn't necessarily do later on.
Hmm.
Yeah, this album it's a stone cold classic. It's right there at the birth of modern metal. Essentially, it's and the cover is awesome. That's another reason I want to skip over the CD replacement and just go straight to a vinyl replacement
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that cover deserves to be experienced in full size.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. Good choice. Good choice. Now I gotta start checking this stuff out too. Now you got me thinking of three albums I need to check out. I find that with Judas Priest, because of Rob Halford's vocals, that I have to be in a certain mood to listen to because of the vocal gymnastics. I'm gonna get shot for saying that, but I mean it's just it's the way it is, right? My number five is the debut from Max Webster.
Nice.
Um, in the US, it was retitled Hangover. Uh, in Toronto, formed in 72, featuring Kim Mitchell, the only original member that stayed throughout the entire run of the band. But in this incarnation, you had Kim Mitchell, Mike on guitars, Mike Titka on bass, Terry Watkinson on keyboards. Fantastic keyboard player. The drummer, it's not Gary McCracken. I forget the name of the drummer. He left after the debut album, forgive me. But they were signed to Anthem Entertainment, which was Rush's label and management company. They were also signed to Mercury in the US. They basically were considered little Rush Jr. kind of thing because they usually toured with Rush quite a bit. They opened for Rush quite a bit. The album is a mix of heavy rock and prog rock and just basically lunacy with songs like, Here Among the Cats, amazing heavy rock track. Hangover, uh, which starts off the album, Lily, which is just a beautiful, I call it a pseudo ballad. The comical Toronto Tontos, which is an entity all unto itself. You really got to check it out. Um, Blowing the Blues Away, Coming Off the Moon, Summer's Up, just fantastic melodic rock. Kim Mitchell is a fantastic guitarist and a fantastic vocalist, and it's a shame that this band did not get the notoriety and the attention that they so rightfully deserved during the band's initial run, which was from 72, recording wise, sorry, 76 to 81. So that's my lead off choice for number five. And also the lyrics were written by uh, writer Pi Dubois for the albums. So there you go.
Well known to Rush fans for co-writing lyrics to a certain Tom Sawyer as well as a couple other songs. But obviously, Tom
Exactly,
Sawyer is the
exactly,
big, yeah.
exactly,
I bet he
exactly.
got lots of royalty checks from that. But yeah,
We
Max
won't
Webster.
go into that. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you got the Canadian content in right off the bat.
yeah.
The government will not be breathing down your neck now.
There you go. There, I'll be okay with the CRTC. Okay. So yeah. Uh,
That's a good pick. That's one of those bands that yeah they were a virtual non-entity here in
yeah.
the states, which is a shame.
Yeah, and I mean, just very quickly, Terry Watkinson does some on Lily, the final track, which is considered the big prog track, does some fantastic organ and keyboard work on this track. Just amazing. Just amazing. I don't understand why they weren't bigger in the US than they were here in Canada. So
Might have been too weird for the U.S.
could be.
Steely Dan was big here though, so it'll yeah that maybe not.
Could be. Well, who knows? I mean, yeah. Yep.
Right.
You're number four.
Well, I have mentioned these guys before, and so have you. Very recently, in fact. Uh, this is the other one of my top two albums by this band.
Hmm.
It is the Electric Light Orchestra with the New World Record.
Oh, you fucker.
This is a perfect pop album. This it's neck and neck with El Dorado for my favorite, and it's a very different album than El Dorado. It is more, it's less proggy, more poppy, less symphonic, but more hooks. This thing is loaded with hooks. It has the hits on here, of course, are Telephone Line, Rock Area, and the big hit Living Thing. Uh, yeah, all great, but every other song is great as well. And here, Jeff Lynne lays his Beatles fandom right out there in many ways, but in no greater way than in the line in Shangri La. My Shangri La is faded like the Beatles on Hey Jude.
Yeah,
What a great lyric. That is such a cool lyric. That
yeah,
and yeah, really, there are no weak songs on here. Rock Area is such a fun. This whole story of this opera singer learning to sing the blues, and I love to hear the call out to these classical, mostly opera composers. She's sweet on Wagner. I
Mhm.
think she died for Beethoven. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Gets the
yeah.
little classical bits in there. So Fine's a great pop track. Tightrope is a perfect opener. That's another
Oh
one
yeah,
where
the lead off.
it
Yeah,
was a hit. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect album. Jeff Lynne, the master, and this is with the pretty much the classic lineup still. Um, Bev and Rich Tandy, Kelly Groucutt, and of course the most famous string section: Mick Kaminsky, Hugh McDowell, and Melvin Gale.
Yeah.
I think this is what most people would consider the most popular electric light orchestra lineup, and of course the iconic logo there. That
Yeah,
so
yeah,
colorful, so elaborate. Yeah, it looks like the Simon game that came out later, the handheld for those of you of a
yeah.
certain you might remember. But
Certain age, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Oh, that's a good choice. Quick question: is that the United Artists release or the Jet release?
this is the Jet. I
Okay.
actually, this is I got this for $2. I had another copy previously, but it got lost. You can see, I don't know if you can see tape all along the top
Yeah,
and the bottom
yeah,
holding the
yeah.
album cover together. The
That's
record's
ded
in great shape, but
that's
yeah,
dedication, man.
$2, that's good enough for me. This thing is well worth more than that. So
Yeah, no, I had the United Artists version on vinyl. A friend of mine gave it to me, but it was all scratched up, so I had to go out and get another copy, which is the Jet version. And I also got, because I had extra tracks, the CD version of it. So
yeah, I have
I'm
that right
good
over here
on
too,
that.
the
Yeah,
CD
no,
version.
yeah, no, it's a good album. It's a really good album. Um, we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. My number four, and people are going to get probably be surprised at this, is Eagles with Hotel California. Um, again, it's a fertile year, man. In the 70s, fertile decade. This was considered to be the quintessential Eagles album, released in late 76. Title track, New Kid in Town, Victim of Love, Life in the Fast Lane. Uh, Pretty Maids all lined up in a you know, um, Wasted Time. And I also like the fact that Wasted Time ended side one, but then it started off side two with the reprise, with the symphonic um, uh, rendition of it. And it just listening to the symphonic rendition of it, that version of it made me cry. It brought me to tears every single time I heard it. And the the last track on the album, The Last Resort. The lyrics, she came from Providence, one in Rhode Island, where the old world shadows hang heavy in the air. You know, they packed their hopes and dreams like a refugee. You know, it's like, what the hell am I listening to here? Like, just amazing, amazing. Um, is it overplayed? The entire album is overplayed, and I think maybe that's why it's number four on my list. But it doesn't take away from the fact that it is a fantastic album. This was the Eagles at their zenith, um, and yeah, it's my number four.
Um, I did not pick the Eagles Hotel California, but it was hovering right outside. It's a classic for a reason. Yeah, that's wasted time, especially. I know my son Neil's been on the channel a couple times here, and
Yeah,
uh, he and I have talked about this before. I think we both agreed last I knew that "Wasted Time" is our favorite song by the Eagles. Period. That's the real masterpiece of the album for me. That's yeah, and I love singing along with it, no matter what my voice sounds like at the time. It's a very heartfelt song, and douchebag or not, yeah, Don Henley can write some mean lyrics, and his voice can really bring him home. So yeah, that's classic. Love it. Good
yeah.
pick.
I noticed how you
Yeah.
kind of slipped that word in there, or not. Yeah, yeah. His dominance over the band with Glenn Fry is well known and very well documented. We're not going to go there, guys. It is what it is. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. So, all right, you're number. I almost forgot you're number three.
Yeah, I forgot it was my turn because I was talking about your selections. All right. My number three, this is another a big obvious one, but it had to be here no matter how much virtually every track on this album has been driven into the ground since the year it came out by radio. Um, it's the debut from Boston. Again, this side two slightly lets it down with a couple songs, but side one is one of the most perfect album sides of all time. I cannot find a single flaw in More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, and Foreplay a Long Time. That's perfection. Yeah. If side two had been as good as that, this would probably be number one for the year. But there's a couple minor weak spots. I don't think there's a bad song on the album, but Rock and Roll Band always kind of bugged me a little because it purports to tell the story of the band's birth, and it's an absolute lie. That is not this band. It was not some band that was randomly discovered by a record executive. It was Tom Schultz, as we all know, who essentially made virtually the entire album and chopped it, and then they had to make a band to carry through with it.
Yeah.
But no matter how it was made, no matter the story, it's a stone cold classic. And yeah, you can't beat Sib's Fro there. Check that thing out.
Oh my
That's
God, that's like,
70s
yeah,
right there.
that is the quintessential Afro. I mean,
Yes,
like
it
if
is.
in terms of if you want a textbook on about how to do an Afro, that's it.
Yes.
It's
And yeah, Brad Delp's voice. Wow, the notes he hits on this, the purity in his voice, the range. It's amazing. He was something else.
yeah,
Without him, frankly, I have no interest in Boston.
no, no.
He
Right.
was almost as important as Tom Schultz himself. So
Yeah, I would say Brad Delp is the voice of Boston. You know, rest in peace, Brad Delp. Um, good choice. My number three, ladies and gentlemen, is David Bowie with Station to Station. Um, this was at a point where he was still using the persona of the Thin White Duke. Well, yeah, he started to use the persona of the Thin White Duke because the lead off lyric on Station to Station is the return of the Thin White Duke throwing darts in lovers' eyes. Album came out again in 76, six tracks produced by Harry Maslin. The title track, Golden Years, Word on a Wing, TVC 15, Stay, um, Wild is the Wind. My favorite tracks on the album are the title track, the epic 10-minute title track, which nobody knew what to make of that track because there were so many different influences on that track and musical directions on that track and stylistically. Um, and Wild is the Wind is a fantastic ballad. He just put so much emotion into that. Cover or not, it's still a fantastic track. TVC 15 is just a good romp for me. And if you want to hear, for me, the definitive version of TVC 15 live, go to listen to Stage from 78. I can knock your block off. I tell you, swear to God, it's that good. Um, and this was one of his first studio albums where he was starting to make money from the royalties. He had sued Tony DeFries to get out of his main man contract because he realized DeFries, was not who he says he was. And yeah, it's a good album. It's a really good album. Well produced, sonically a really good album. So yeah, that's my number three.
and is this not one of the albums that Bowie himself said he didn't even remember making because he was so deep into his substance abuse?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's It's odd, but
It
yeah.
turned out all right, whether he could remember it or not. No, I agree. I think Wild as the Wind is probably my favorite track on the album. As far as his hits, such as they were, hits or not in the 70s, they got radio play. I think Golden Years was one of my least favorites. So this is one of those albums where the hit is not among my favorites. I
Mhm.
like it well enough, but compared to his other popular songs, I don't think it holds up quite as well.
There are albums where the deeper cuts are better than the hits.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one.
Yeah.
But I do like TVC 15 quite a bit more, though.
Oh, I'm telling you, Bill, listen to the live version from stage. It's just funky and just heavy, like unbelievable. That backing band he had with Adrian Belew and Carlos Alomar and oh my, Dennis Davis, or is it Dennis Murray? Or amazing, amazing. Sorry, believe it. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so go ahead. You're
All
number
right.
two.
Well, this is something I hinted at in our 1975 episode because this album came out in 75 in Canada, where Armando is, came out in 76 in the US, where I'm at. He picked it in 75. I'm picking it in 76. It could be considered a cheat to give me an extra slot in 75, but I don't care. It worked. Here's Dreamboat Annie, the debut from Heart. This is one of my all-time favorite albums. I do think it's their best album, though I'm a fan all the way up through their modern stuff. I think their modern albums are quite good too. Uh, but this, my God, this is one of those that this debut album is so strong that it was just hard to top. And it's another one also. I think, as cliche as it may be, my favorite Heart song is the very first song on this album, Magic Man. I think it's just brilliant. I love the use of synth in it. It's like a mini prog epic almost.
Yeah.
And I think in these early days, Roger Fisher had an influence on things that wasn't there after he got the boot.
Hmm.
I'll just leave it at that. That's
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth with Roger Fisher and yeah, and
yeah,
other members of the band. Yes, yes, but
so
good album.
even though Magic Man is my favorite, there are others that come very close. Soul of the Sea is amazing. Yeah, that's another mini epic. Sing Child, of course. Love Me Like Music, I'll Be Your Song is just absolutely gorgeous, heartfelt ballad.
Mhm.
And How Deep It Goes, my God, that one used to get played a lot on the radio still back in the 80s, where I was at out in Colorado at that time. And yeah, every time that would come on, I would just have to stop and listen to the whole thing when Annie hit a certain note when she sings the title line, "How deep it goes." Oh my God, that's right up there with another Annie Haslam from Renaissance. I could imagine those two doing a duet back in those days, trying to duel that one
Yeah,
out.
I could see that.
The
Definitely.
two Annies going at it. Yeah,
Definitely.
wow, gorgeous. Yeah, classic for a reason. It's another one of those that never gets old. One of my all-time favorites. And the
Yeah.
cover, Teenage Me. Yes, Anne is my mom's age. Teenage me didn't care looking at this cover. I'll just leave it at
Oh, there we go. There we go. No, yeah, no, as I mentioned in the other episode about buying various copies, um, oh, this one, I should say, almost forgot where I was. Um, that picture screwed me up. Oh. Um, I I had the Mushroom Records copy on vinyl of Dreamboat Annie. My first copy was skipped because I got a used copy from a friend. I went out and I found in Calgary at another record shop in Calgary. We went record buying. Yep, there it is. And I bought another Mushroom Records copy and plays perfect.
I had the same problem with this. I have my original that I've had for decades, but developed a skip over the years on Magic Man of all things.
Yeah.
I got my first replacement also skipped on Magic Man. I finally got this one just a couple weeks ago at a resale shop we went to. Just happened to see it in there. I got it for 99 cents and it plays great. So
Perfect. That's great. That's
I wonder
great.
what it is about these Dreamboat Annies that
No,
we're having skip issues.
it could be the vinyl. It could be the balance of the needle, like the stylus. It could be the balance. Maybe it's a bit off, because
Actually, that could be.
it
I
could
just got
be
a new turntable recently, so
like it could be because maybe the first track it'll skip, but the second or third track and the rest of the album will play fine. I don't know what the issue would be, but that's probably what it is. Um, my number two, I'm gonna flip them because I don't want to be repetitive. My number two is Queen with the Day at the Races. Um, Sue Me. There we go. Again, released in 76, December 76, seen as a follow-up to an at the opera, featuring the two singles, Somebody to Love and Tie Your Mother Down. Somebody to Love is seen by some people as the little brother or sister of Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't believe that's the case. This album for me is immaculate. I mean, starts off with Tie Your Mother Down, You Take My Breath Away, Long Way, The Millionaire Waltz, and the 3/4. The Millionaire Waltz for me is sublime. In the 3/4 time on piano and bass, and basically, and in the middle section, Brian May comes in and Roger Taylor come in with the drums and the guitar, and they just fucking rock out. They just go ballistic. And Freddie Mercury comes in with a white hot vocal, just soaring, gone over the rainbow. Okay, like no other. Okay, then it kicks back into the 3/4 time signature. You and I, which was the B side to Tie Your Mother Down. Somebody to Love starts off side two. Fantastic gospel pastiche, as you would call it. Gorgeous track. Freddie Mercury actually said that Somebody to Love was, in his estimation, a better song compositionally than Bohemian Rhapsody. He
I
liked
agree.
he liked it better. White Man, which was the B side to Somebody to Love as a single. Um, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. And again, White Man, bloody, brilliant, heavy as all get out. Kick your ass from here to eternity, I swear to God. Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, good romp for like 2 minutes plus. Fantastic, intricate vocals and guitar work. The fantastic sort of lazy um, arrangement, again, more laid back arrangement, I should say, of Drowse and the album closer with Teo Toriate, Let Us Cling Together, with the Japanese lyrics for the chorus. Just amazing. And the opening for Tie Your Mother Down is the closing section on Teo Toriate. And if I'd love it how they bookend the album, they start and finish with it, they bookend it. Amazing. Just because it's number two, it does not mean I don't love it. But you know what? I need to change it up a little bit. Fantastic album. If you haven't checked it out, what are you waiting for? Where have you been living? Please check it out. Great album, number two.
Yes. I'm not going to argue with that. That's a great pick, obviously. Again, I knew I could count on you for the Queen content. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I absolutely, yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is great, but I agree with Freddie. I think Somebody to Love is better. That's just,
Yeah. No, I was surprised he actually admitted that to I forget his name. Starts with first name is Molly. He was an Australian presenter. Um, but he said that Somebody to Love, in his opinion, was a better song in terms of composition than Bohemian Rhapsody. But I mean,
and his vocal on that, my God. Yeah,
oh yeah,
oh,
you almost did it. You almost did it. I like that. I do not know what part of his anatomy he had to grab and in order to reach that note, but he did, and he did it flawlessly. I am sorry. It is what it is. So that's my number two.
That's classic. Uh, all right, my number one is the first time this band has appeared for me in this whole countdown, which is kind of shocking to me. I think I've lost my whatever progressive rock credibility I've had by not including any of their albums up till now,
You
which I
still
will.
have progressive rock credibility. Don't worry about
Well, one of them's hanging on the wall behind me that I didn't mention, but this is my favorite album by them. And at one point, there were a couple years where I think this even took over as my all-time favorite album over Crime of the Century. That changed Crime of the Century back on top again, but Trick of the Tail by Genesis,
it. I knew it.
outstanding. It has my favorite Genesis song, Tony Banks' song Madman Moon, which does not get near the love it deserves musically or lyrically. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It has one of my favorite cool lyrics here where the character's lost in the desert and said, I would welcome a horse's kick to send me back if I could find a horse not made out of sand. I just love that lyric. I love the whole story in this. But yeah, every song on this album is amazing. But I'm especially a big fan of side one. That's another one of those perfect album sides. Entangled is probably my second favorite song. Absolutely gorgeous combo. The kind of stuff that Tony Banks and Steve Hackett did well together when they were able to play nicely before it all fell apart with them. It's a
Yeah, that
perfect
one.
blend of their songwriting and playing, and it's a masterpiece. It's a gorgeous track. Um, and of course, Dance on a Volcano. That's probably the song that lasted the longest in general in the public eye. Maybe Ripples might be a contender there too, or even
Yeah.
Squonk. But Dance on the Volcano is such a great way to start the album.
Mhm.
Uh, with Phil's, yeah, the drums popping out on that is amazing. Um, really, I can't find any flaws in this album. The artwork, I love the characters that represent each song. It's the full wraparound cover, and yeah, the lyrics inside with the characters again. I've had this in multiple formats. Of course, I got the surround sound special edition, all that good stuff. But this crappy old vinyl copy still sounds just great too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry it took me so long to get Genesis here because it was painful to leave off Nursery Crime and Foxtrot and Selling England by the Pound. Those three were tough cuts. They could have just as easily made the list, but they didn't. But there was no way I was keeping this one off. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good choice. I'm surprised it wasn't on my list. When I got into Genesis in 1990, Full Throttle, I mean, I've always known of Genesis, like, from Duke days. But um, The Trick of the Tail was the first Genesis album that I actually took to. And because long story short, too late. It's considered by some to be Genesis light, but because Peter Gabriel wasn't there. But you know what? I think that's bullshit. I think it's prog, but it's also accessible. Um, and I think it's and little footnote. When I did get into Genesis, I went out one day and I bought all of their catalog on CD. Came
You
back.
have a knack for that. When you go in, you go all in.
Oh, that was with my mom's credit card. Love you, mama. Miss you. Um,
Thanks for the Genesis.
Miss you dearly, mama. Um, yeah, well, that's a fantastic choice. Um, we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. My number one is Rainbow and Rising. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Okay, you know, Rainbow, Richie Blackmore, Ronnie James Dio on vocals, Richie Blackmore on guitar. In this incarnation of Rainbow, you had Cozy Powell, or some people say Cozy fucking Powell on drums. You had for this album Jimmy Bain on bass, and you had Tony Carey on keyboards. Blistering lineup. This album for me, follow up to Richie Blackmore's Rainbow from 75. 6 tracks, four on side one, two on side two. Starts off with Terror Woman. Fantastic intro by Tony Carey on keyboards. I was going to say Richie Blackmore's vocals. Ronnie James Dio's vocals on this album are fantastic, amazing. On side one, you have again Terror Woman, Run with the Wolf, um, Starstruck, Do You Close Your Eyes? Side two, the two long epics, uh, Stargazer and The Light in the Black. Stargazer, again, the story about this Svengali who tried to get people to believe that he could solve their problems and he had all their answers. He could take them to salvation until they started to believe his own hype, and he ended up destroying himself in the process. Light in the Black is seen as the answer to Stargazer with the lyric, Did we really get away? Screamed beautifully in harmony by uh, Ronnie James Dio. Just an amazing uh, two-prong attack on side two. Just fantastic. It's a shame that Ronnie James Dio sees or saw side two as an excuse for a drum and a guitar solo. But I think it's a fantastic album. It's well produced, um, just beautifully done. An amazing lineup. And I think Richie Blackmore always tended to shoot himself in the foot when it came to his lineups. This lineup didn't last very long, but for while it did, majestic, beautiful, amazing. That's my number one.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I think Stargazer, I think for many people might be Dio's finest vocal moment. I don't know
Amazing.
if I'd agree, but I can't really argue against it. That's pretty amazing. My God, when he talks, my eyes are bleeding. That that's intense. Yeah, and
Uh,
Tony Carey. Oh, uh, I just want to give a little props to Tony Carey. Uh, a lot of people only know him from his brief period as Rainbow's keyboard player, but Tony has gone on to have a career as a singer, songwriter, multi instrumentalist on his own that is still to this day going strong. He had a couple minor hits, and he also had Planet P Project, which was just him under a band name. Yeah, I'd highly recommend folks to further explore Tony's career. And
yeah,
my controversial statement here, see if I can totally get canceled. Um, I like Richie Blackmore in Deep Purple, and I like him in Rainbow, but I like him best in Blackmore's Night. I could
it's
get
your
killed for
opinion.
that statement, but I think that's where he's happiest. I think it's
Mhm.
really what he wants to do, and his playing's great. Whether people
Mhm.
like that style or not,
Yeah.
I think he excels at it. So more power to him.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say when you were talking about the lyric with my eyes are bleeding and I'm far away from here. Um, that whole track is cinematic. I can just envision, at the end of the track where the Svengali character realizes that he's basically being destroyed by his own ego, I can just imagine um, that he's being pulled underground, like by hands that are coming up and pulling him underground. And as he's singing, My eyes are bleeding, you could see blood coming from his eyes just as he's trying to break free. And he knows it's futile, that he's dead, that he can't do it, that he's basically powerless in the end. That's how visual this song is to me and how cinematic it is to me, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty awesome.
but it's just, yeah, just amazing. I cry when I hear that song. It's just like I get really choked up because
It's powerful.
oh Jesus. And Cozy Powell on drums. forget about it. It's done. It's done. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
I smack talk Cozy mildly on our Sabbath ranking, but it was only as Sabbath drummer. Here he's pretty awesome, and in other places as well.
yeah, yeah. All right. Your first honorable mention.
All right. Well, I don't usually like to repeat, but these albums kind of bookended the year. And well, since I ignored them up till now, I might as well get my second favorite album in by them as an honorable. It's Genesis with Wind and Wuthering.
Okay.
I
Okay.
couldn't leave it out. These are my two favorite Genesis albums. It's the two by the four man band where Steve Hackett was still there and Gabriel had left. This is my favorite lineup of the band. These albums are perfect for each other. They're a great match. They could form a double album as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, this one tends to get left behind sometimes, but I think it's every bit as good. Really, as Trick of the Tail is just the hair off. Uh, I really, especially Blood on the Rooftops is a classic, obviously.
Yeah.
One that Steve Hackett still enjoys playing to this day with good reason. And the 11th Earl of Mar is amazing, but probably the best song on the album is One for the Vine. If not for Madman Moon, One for the Vine might be my favorite Tony Banks Genesis track.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful epic. It's his playing is just gorgeous on this, and his writing, yeah. And Phil was at a sweet spot with his vocals here. He changed later for better and for worse, depending on what he was trying to sing. In some ways, he improved, but there was a certain sweetness, a certain innocence to his vocals on these albums.
Yeah. I can
Kind
hear
of went
I
away.
hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And yeah, and the cover is great. The cover matches the music perfectly. That autumn, dreary, but still somehow beautiful. Yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah. That's a
awesome.
to me that's a very winter album.
Yeah,
Like even the cover, it's a very winter album cover.
very much. Yeah, the birds on the back. This one, unfortunately, I used to have the actual fold out, but this my replacement copy is just the single single sleeve.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said if you and I ever go record shopping, we'd be dangerous.
Yeah,
Mm,
dangerous to the bank account for sure.
tell me about it. I just got a new credit card in the mail today. My God, help me, Lord. Um, my first honorable mention. Here comes the Canadian contingent double shot, uh, part two. Joni Mitchell with Hejira. Um, 8 tracks again released in '76. This is where Joni Mitchell started going to more of her jazz fusion influences with songs like Amelia, which is my favorite track on the album, Coyote, which starts off the album, and Song for Sharon. This is where she started to do more, I don't want to say experimentation with the arrangements and stuff, but she let the songs breathe a little more. There's a lot more space in the production in terms of the arrangements. And she started to use a lot more jazz fusion, jazz chord progressions on guitar. And um, also, guys, if you can get a copy of Shadows and Light, her live album with Pat Metheny, Michael Brecker, uh, and Jaco Pastorius, get a copy of it. It's amazing. It's amazing. So that's my first honorable mention. Sorry.
It's
It
nice.
is
You're
T.
definitely you're getting the Joni content in on this countdown throughout the 70s here. That's good. Uh, yeah, this was a very interesting period she went into. I mean, leading up to her Charles Mingus collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, she she progressed to that naturally. Obviously, yeah,
Yeah.
playing
And
people she was playing with and the things she was writing.
yeah. And she gained a lot of respect from the jazz community. I mean, she toured with with Pat Metheny, for God's sake. And Jaco Pastorius, like I mean, hello. So,
Yeah.
um,
The fact that she was able to get enough respect from Charles Mingus pretty much on his deathbed to get that collaboration, that says it all to me. That I'm a
exactly,
huge Mingus fan. So yeah. If you got the
exactly.
Mingus seal of approval, I have a lot of respect for you as a musical artist. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, your last honorable mention, or
all right. My last honorable mention. At one point it was my favorite album by this band. It's not anymore, but I still think it's an amazing album. Not the first time, and it won't be the last that they've appeared. It is Steely Dan with the Royal Scam. Yeah, this that cover, the iconic cover with the guy down below with the very dangerous looking cityscape above him,
yeah,
looking like they're about to devour him.
yeah,
You can read whatever metaphors you want into that image, folks, but even the so-called hits on this album are bizarre and weren't really hits. I mean, Kid Charlemagne,
yeah.
The Fez, and Haitian Divorce. Those are the songs that made it onto their first greatest hits album,
Hmm.
the one that came out in between Asia and Gaucho.
Hmm.
But were they really hits? Not really. Not
Not
in
not
the
overly. No, not big hits. No.
no, not like Peg and Josie and Do It Again and Reeling in the Years and
Yeah,
Ricky Don't Use That Number. They weren't those kind of hits,
yeah.
but they still stayed alive on rock radio stations for years, as did Don't Take Me Alive. Yeah, which is another classic.
Yeah.
Uh, and the Royal Scam, that is, man, I can hear it every, yeah, it gives me chills just hearing that song. This is where they really, I think Katie Lied was the last warm sounding album. This
Okay.
is where
I
they
get what you're
started to
saying.
get colder, more brittle, but still brilliant. Uh, they started to get closer to the perfectionism on this album that they would really take to the next level on the follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is no subpar album though. You got to have it if you like Steely Dan. You got to have them all here. So
Oh yeah.
Royal.
Uh, I agree with you. I agree with you. My last honorable mention is title, self-title from Boston. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Um, you know, side three. Listen to me. I'm tired,
You
guys.
got a cool copy, man. I didn't
I
have.
know. Yeah, that's the demos, guys. Side
Wow.
one is, but I was kind of because there are three songs on side one. Side one is the stronger half of the album. I'm sorry. More Than a Feeling, massive hit. Foreplay, the instrumental intro into Long Time, and then um Peace of Mind. It's just it it's a good album. Is it a strong album all the way through? No, no. And I mean, the album did sell 17 million copies. Whether it was a fluke, whether it was just, a one-shot deal, I don't know. Um, but you cannot deny that that first side is a classic album side. It's a good album run. Uh, Brad Delp is the voice of Boston. Okay. Without him, there is no Boston. And the way he can hit those notes, and he had perfect pitch. He could have gone in. He did go in and he could hit the mark on the first take many times, maybe two at the most, but usually it was like one take and he was done. Um, it's a shame that Tom Schultz fired everybody in the band at one point or another, and then they ended up suing him, apparently for royalties or whatever. But it's not a strong album all the way through, so that's why it's an honorable mention. Um, so there you go, guys. our top five albums of the 70s from the year 1976. We will be back with the year 1977. Um, I want to thank Bill for joining me on this episode. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And again, down below, down there in the comment section, please put your top five of 1976. Could be top three, could be top 10, top 20, whatever you like to do. And put in an honorable mention. Maybe there are albums that we haven't mentioned yet that we forgot about. Again, 70 to 79, really fertile decade in terms of album releases. So, from Mr. Bill Schuster, I'm Armando Venditti saying have a good night. Please look after yourselves again and one another, and we will see you soon, very soon, with another episode. Bye for now.